welcome to my channel. So I want us to look more on Antiochus Epiphanes and why most scholars consider him as a type of Antichrist prophesied by Daniel, and also is a type of Antichrist who can give us a preparation of what kind of Antichrist will come as the world comes to an end. Some of the things he did, apart from sacrificing the pig in the temple, but some of the things he did in Israel actually reflect what Antichrist does. So let's look at some of the things that he did that makes him a type of Antichrist, because he was really notorious. His official name is Antiochus IV, but he was called Epiphanes. Epiphanes means madman, to reflect the kind of things he did. So in the previous video that I'd like you to watch, we saw how he entered, how he conquered. He took over the reign of his father, Antiochus III, and he succeeded his father. And I just mentioned in the last video about his most notorious act of sacrificing the pig and thereby defiling the temple of God. Now, I want us to see many other things he did that why he's considered as a type of Antichrist prophesied by Daniel. So, after he took over, of course, sacrificing the pig was one of those acts that actually has earned him very bad reputation to date. He did that in the temple, and the pig is unclean, like we said, the Jewish culture. So the king, Antiochus, wrote to his whole kingdom that everybody should be taxed. And therefore he brought about, like we said earlier, very, very brutal tax collectors. And then the king wrote to his whole kingdom, that is Israel plus Asia Minor, where he was a king, that the whole kingdom and everybody should be one people. So that's one of the things that the Antichrist will do, to make everybody one people, and that all should give up their particular customs and religions. Now, we had Gentiles in Israel. They readily accepted this command of the king, and even some Israelites also adopted his religion. They sacrificed to idols and profaned the Sabbath. That means that instead of resting, like they were required to do by the law of Moses, they continued doing businesses on the Sabbath day, which is profaning the Sabbath. They sacrificed to idols and profaned the Sabbath. The king sent letters by messengers to Jerusalem and towns of Judah. He ordered them to follow the customs of Greece, to forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings, which were supposed to be done in the Old Testament. So, and also to defile the sanctuary and the priests, and to build altars. So these tax collectors really imposed heavy tribute on the Israelites, and even some of their livestock were taken. Those who refused to obey were brutally punished like this. They were brutally punished. And you find that things like circumcision were forbidden, and women who were found to circumcise their children were killed like this. So there was an inspection going on to ensure that nobody circumcised their children, which is a Jewish tradition. So it was very brutal. These were all laws imposed by Antiochus. This is why he is considered an Antichrist. He wanted everybody to be the same in his entire empire. It was very brutal. Even men who was so also, apart from forbidding circumcision, he forbid any Jewish text like the Torah. Those who are found reading it were killed. So there was inspection door to door. If you are found reading those books, you are killed. Just like the way the Antichrist will do. Even if you look at the book of Revelation, in the end of days, the Antichrist will kill anybody who will be having a Bible. So even those days, those who are having the Old Testament Torahs, etc., reading them, they were killed. So it became very punitive. Things became very hard for the Israelites. And to make it even worse, he built altars to his God in the Jewish temple. Like these are altar of Zeus, which is a Greek god. He built in the temple of God. Imagine. Also, this is a statue of Athena. This is a Greek goddess. It was built in the temple of God also. And of course, sacrificing pigs and other unclean animals. These were to make themselves, and even those who copied, the Israelites who copied this, these were to make themselves abominable by doing everything that God ordered them not to do. And slowly, people began to forget the laws and the ordinances given to them by Moses. So this guy, he wrote to his whole kingdom. He appointed inspectors, and they built gymnasiums all over Israel and all over his territory. Gymnasiums for sports. So sports were introduced. Remember, the Jewish culture was fasting, working normally. So sports were still strange. All this came from the Greek culture. Gymnasiums and sports. So all this, so he appointed inspectors all over his kingdom, and these inspectors walked all over the kingdom and ordered people in Judah, town by town, to sacrifice to these pagan gods. So as a result, there were statues of Greek gods erected in the temple and even all over Israel. Now, this was too much to most Israelites who are still traditional. Many people began to flee, especially after he sacrificed a pig in the temple. That was the extreme, the climax, and people began to flee to the mountains. People began to flee to the surrounding towns, the mountains, etc. So many people opposed these laws, and in the mountains, people flee. So Israel, the Jerusalem, remained with some few Israelites who are rich and who are collaborating with him, and even Gentiles who he brought from other kingdoms, Samaritans, Gentiles. They were the ones who came and filled Jerusalem. So Jerusalem became unrecognizable, full of strangers, strange cultures, etc. So many of the traditional Jews fled to the mountain. They carried the Ark of the Covenant, and they carried their books, and they kept on maintaining the traditions. So they stood firm, but they were hiding in the mountains. This is the same thing that will happen in the last days when the Antichrist comes and began persecuting believers. They'll have to flee to the mountains, like we are told in the book of Matthew 24 and even Revelation. So it's just a repeat. That's why this guy, Antiochus, is called as one of the Antichrists. So there have been many Antichrists before. There have been many Antichrists. So those who fled the mountains were those strict Jews who stuck to the traditions. So one of those who fled was a man called Mattathias, son of Simeon, of the priesthood family of Joarib. They moved from Jerusalem and they settled in mountainous area called Modein. That's the rural part of Israel. He had 5 sons: John, son named Gadi, Simon called Tassi, Judas called Maccabees. So this Judas is one who became more famous. Eliezer called Avaran, and Jonathan called Aphas. He saw the blasphemies being committed in Judah and Jerusalem, and he really cried. And him and his family, they fled. They went to the mountains together with other more loyal Israelites. So the king's inspectors who were enforcing this apostasy, they went from town to town. They followed the people even to the mountains. And some went to Modein where Mattathias was, and they asked Mattathias and his sons that they should also, because Mattathias was respected even by those pagans, they should also lead other Israelites to worship these gods of Antiochus. And they were saying that if Mattathias could do it, others would be obliged to do it. Now, these were the Greek inspectors who are calling on these people to do it. Now, one of the Israelites who was weak actually obeyed, came forward, and they actually began to, he offered a sacrifice to these pagan gods right there in front of that meeting. And Mattathias, his anger was aroused. Just like before in the Old Testament, there was someone who was called Phinehas, whose anger was aroused. This was a godly anger. He took a spear and killed those who were fornicating. I think it was in the book of Leviticus, maybe. Now here also, Mattathias saw this guy, Israelite, obeying this Greek inspector and offering a sacrifice to these pagan gods. Mattathias slew that guy there and then. He slew him. And then Mattathias cried with a loud voice in front of everyone, "Let everyone who is zealous for the law of God and supports the covenant come out with me." Then he and his sons fled to the hills and left all that they had in that town. So they went to the wilderness, him and his sons and their wives of their sons and their livestock, and they hid there. And they began to organize themselves. And many of those who were adamant and they were obeying God followed Mattathias and his sons. So that's what. Now, when they went to hide, they said, enough of this. So now they began to plan rebellion. How to plan a rebellion to fight against this Greek occupation, because now it was becoming too much. So I think now next time is when we shall look at how this Mattathias and the Maccabees and these other sons, how they plotted revolt of the Israelites against Greek. I was supposed to do this today, but I just thought that Antiochus has not been covered by the Bible and is considered as one of the Antichrist. So those are some of the things that we have seen. That's why Antiochus is considered as a type of Antichrist. From what I've read, Antichrist is a spirit. And there have been many Antichrists before. So there was Antiochus, there was Nero, who killed Paul and many Christians. And now we are waiting for the final Antichrist. So in the Antichrist, there's a pattern. So Antiochus, he's seen as an Antichrist because he wanted one religion, his religion, among everybody else, even among the Israelites. And those who didn't comply were killed. Those who are found circumcising their children were killed. Those who are found with the religious texts of Torah and Mosaic law, they were killed. Those who are keeping Sabbath were killed. So he wanted everybody to follow his religion. Also, he wanted a one world government whereby everybody had to submit to him. So in the same way, just like it is prophesied in the Revelation and even Thessalonians and the book of Matthew, even in the Antiochus days, the Israelites were forced to flee to the hills and the mountains and the caves. And that's the same thing which is being prophesied, even in Revelation, that the final Antichrist will make Christians and others to flee to the mountains. And so that's why it is Antiochus is considered as one of the Antichrists. So if there's anybody who has got a comment on that, you can put in the comment section. And now next time, we shall look at the revolt and how Israel got independence from the revolt led by Maccabees and others, and the death of Antiochus and the rise of Rome. So that's all for today. Thank you.